Dave Butler is back in East Germany after 30 years. He served here with BRIXMIS in the 1980s, gathering vital intelligence and information on Soviet troop movements. On the 14th of February 1987, Dave and his tour officer Alan Jacobs set up an observation post in the woods to take photographs of a new vehicle.
What then happened unexpectedly was from our right, a WAZ 469 Soviet Jeep came hurtling up the track here and made a sharp left turn and went up behind us. The reason it was doing that is because it had seen our tour vehicle in the woods, and then fundamentally as it went up behind us, we were then cut off. So the tour officer and I then decided that we would bury our equipment, that we had the camera and the dictaphone, and because there was deep snow on the ground, we moved back into the woods, we buried the equipment, waited a few minutes expecting to be captured ourselves, and nothing happened. So we had heard our vehicle driving at high speed out of the area. We then made off to the emergency RV, which would have been our standing operational procedure, our SOP.
But the driver never showed up, and Dave and Alan realised they would have to make their own way back. 57 miles from their safe house, the pair needed to make a call back to base to arrange a pickup. In the tiny village of Kolso, they found a local pub having a lock-in. Amazingly, when they knocked on the door, the landlord let the two enemy soldiers come in.
We made a phone call to the British Embassy, and we'd always assumed that all lines in the GDR were monitored by the Stasi, and we found that within 30 minutes of us making the call to the British Embassy in Berlin, our area was alive with Stasi vehicles. The East German population were warned that assisting the missions in any shape or form, was a criminal offence and that they would be arrested. So, for the guy to even let us into his establishment, let alone make a phone call from it, was taking a huge risk on his part. And I'm sure that after the event, the Stasi would have gone in because they would have traced the call and known where it's taken from. So I'm sure he would have been questioned by the Stasi on, how many people were in there, what we asked, what we were doing, and all the rest of it.
Now Dave's going back to see if he can find the pub that gave him sanctuary on that night.
I guess what we really recognised was the shape of the place, and that could be it over there. Let's just have a look. Okay, well there's only one way to find out. Go and knock on the door. It clearly doesn't look like a pub anymore, but we'll just see. I'll see if anybody knows Herr Urtler. Guten Tag. Ich möchte befinden, Herr Urtels Familie.
Ja, das.
Ja. Und sie ist er? So ich bin Herr Butler, mein Freund und mich, many years ago.
Sie waren damals.
When this was a Gestatter.
Ja.
Wir kommen here.
Hallo.
With the military mission, and our husband let us use the telephone to make a call. Schönen Dank.
Das sieht aber nicht mehr aus. Das ist doch so, wie es früher war.
This is how it was. Yes, when we came in. So it's still like a Gestatter.
Bloß der runde Tisch steht nicht. Der Enkel, also der Sohn von,
der
hatte Geburtstag gefeiert und da sieht das so.
They were having a lock-in the night we came, and this was where they all were. And in telephone ist In der Nähe? Oh, yeah. And here's the picture of Herr Ortel and Alan when he came to visit. Alan Jacobs, mein Freund.
Ja, und
Dave Butler.
bist du.
Yeah, it's me. Good. This is where the telephone would have been that we made. Yeah. Und jetzt ist eine more modernish. Yeah. But back then it was a not quite so modern. Yeah. In moment. Okay. Okay. So what she just told me is that they were very aware that the Stasi were looking at, as far as I could understand from the German, and she knew that they were in the area very shortly afterwards. But she doesn't have any recollection of them actually coming in and talking to her. But that doesn't mean to say that they didn't question her husband. Me and my friend wandered in on a dark winter's night. It was snowing outside, and they let us in. And saying this room at the time was full of people, and they were all having what we would call in the UK a lock-in, and so it was like, so we looked fairly cold and wet and hungry, and I guess it was that human thing. They just took pity on us, and whilst realising the what they were doing and the penalties they could pay for doing it. Schönen Dank, and who knows, we may see you again.
Back in 1987, after Dave and Alan made that crucial phone call from the Ertls pub, the Stasi descended on the village. The pair were finally picked up by a BRIXMIS driver at 3 in the morning.
So, what an experience that was. 33 years later, and here I am back in the pub room again. I mean, I was not expecting, when we undid that door, to find that although the pub had gone, they've kept it almost like a museum. It was like walking in that door at 9 o'clock at night, back in whenever it was, 87, 88.
Dave left Germany in June 1989, just a few months before the Berlin Wall finally fell and the entire Eastern Bloc began to disintegrate.
I left here having no clue as to that was about to happen, and I would say that anybody who said they did, was not really telling the truth. I don't think anybody had any idea that was about to happen.
We were gutted, I think is the term, that the wall came down, because we'd hoped we'd go back again for a third tour with BRIXMIS, but the world moved on, and so did we.
In the uncertainty that followed, the world was desperate to know if this spelt the end for the Soviet Union.
Some journalists came to him and said, "General, is it the end of the Cold War?" He looked carefully at the journalist and he said, "You can't imagine how much I want to believe it is."
I think all of us were glad that we never actually had to go to war together,
Absolutely.
And that it all ended. Nobody could ever imagine that we'd have a non-bloodshed reunification.
Serving in the foreign missions was a life-changing experience for these extraordinary men.
Everyone I've ever spoken to was at any one of the missions, at BRIXMIS, FMLM, I've never met a soul who didn't say it was the best experience they've ever had in the military, and even beyond in regular life. So the thing that stood out was that you were able to have a real-world mission. You were involved in something that at that time was extremely important. You confronted, in quotations, an enemy.
I miss it every day. First thing I look at on a car is its number plate. I can't pass a railway line without looking for trains full of armoured vehicles. It doesn't leave you. But it's a nice afterglow as opposed to an unpleasant one.
There was no other unit in the British Army that was allowed to go into the heart of the enemy's territory and basically spy on them.
We were in the backyard, and there will probably never be a time in history when we will have this kind of an opportunity again, because the Russians are certainly not going to allow the British, French, and Americans to be around any of their military installations in Russia with a free hand.
All right, chaps, I think we've got enough out of this as we're going to. Let's go.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, or why not check out the rest of the BRIXMIS series.